We would like to begin our next panel session under the digital economy pillar. Please welcome Ellina Roslan, Senior Director of My Center for IR, to be the moderator of this discussion. I would also like to invite and introduce our speakers, Sri Syed Zainal, Executive Chairman of Dagang Exchange Berhad, DNeX, Mr. Yeoh Hann, Executive Director of YTL Power, and Mr. Shankar Kanabiran, Malaysia Deputy Consulting Leader and Partner, Ernst. Let's give them a big round of applause. Over to you, moderator.
Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. How are we this afternoon? Good. Energy quite low for youngsters. Sri. Because Sri and I were walking in just now and we said like, oh, we feel so young with all this youthful energy. Can I hear some youthful energy here? How are you, everyone? That's more like it. Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to my panelists, Sri Syed Zainal, Mr. Yeoh Hann, and Shankar on this very interesting topic, data, the new oil, and AI, the new electricity. This powerful metaphor captures how data, much like oil in the 20th century, is now the critical resource fueling our digital economy. Yet, like oil, data has a finite nature in terms of value, and extracting that value requires sophisticated infrastructure and skilled workforce. As electricity, AI stands as the mechanism through which data's potential is unlocked, lighting up industries, automating decisions, and fostering advancements across healthcare, finance, transportation, and more. However, AI's capabilities bring both opportunities and complexities. Chief among them, issues around ethics, privacy, security, and the equitable distribution of its benefits. According to the Kearney report, Racing Towards the Future AI in Southeast Asia, AI could contribute to an impressive US $1 trillion to Southeast Asia's GDP by 2030, with Malaysia poised to capture a substantial share of this growth. Malaysia's GDP alone could see an increase of 10 to 18%, driven by efficiency gains, productivity boosts, and new economic opportunities. Last year, in collaboration with Microsoft, the Malaysia Center for Fourth Industrial Revolution published the economic impact of generative AI, the future of work in Malaysia, revealing that generative AI alone has the potential to unlock over USD 113 billion of productive capacity within the Malaysian economy. That's equivalent to nearly a quarter of our 2022 GDP. Today, with our esteemed panelists, we'll explore how organizations across industries are harnessing the power of data and AI. And I'd like to begin this session with our first question to Sri. Sri, DNeX is at the forefront of digital transformation, especially in sectors like energy and technology. In what ways has data become a valuable asset in your industry, and how is DNeX leveraging AI to unlock new opportunities?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good afternoon. Thanks, Ellina, to my colleagues, Han and Shankar. Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of the panel today. I think DNeX, we are sitting in a very key position in three specific industries. As you know, probably some of you are aware, we are in the IT digital transformation business. We do a lot of work for the government and the private sector. We are also in the energy, oil and gas, and of late, we are in the semiconductor business. So in all the three sectors that we operate, data becomes a very strong commodity and essential to the way we do our business and the way we serve our customers. Very simple example in the IT sector, we operate the national single window for the government of Malaysia. For those of you who might not aware, the NSW becomes the platform that everyone has to transact whenever they want to do import and export to Malaysia, whether they want to get the permits from the government, pay the excise duty, and so on and so forth. Millions of data within our ecosystem, and that's become very essential data for us to empower the business to predict and to do the planning for the businesses. We also operate the accounting system for the government of Malaysia. Today, all the ministries, the government agencies is managed by our accounting system. So you can imagine how much data is there in the system to basically provide the modeling for the government as they prepare the budget, the spending pattern, and so on and so forth. In the semiconductors, it's even more acute. We operate a foundry out in Kulim, where 100% of our products are export. And because of the customers that we have, the data that we have and collected with them for all the product they want to produce becomes very valuable to them. It gives them all the all the lessons learned and how they can perhaps process and expedite their qualification so that they can get to market much faster. So to answer the question, data is very important. But I think the question that we need to then ask ourselves is, as a consumer, as a customer, how do we then organize the data to make sure that the customer that we serve see in a valuable shape? Data in the raw shape might not be so valuable, but in the right shape and the dashboard that we provide to them, then perhaps them the value. So right now we are extensively, driving business analytics and providing dashboard to our customer, because we believe, as we empower them to use the data more, we become more efficient. Sometimes people say, let's not give them too much data because then they might not pay so much. Because efficiency, they become more efficient. But I think that's a bit not correct. The more we empower them, and I see people come back to us, and ask for more information, and that gives us different revenue stream. So I think first thing, data is very important, and it is really a commodity that we use to drive what we call this data economy. So now we have AI coming into play. What we have done before can be done now much more efficient. And if you use AI in a proper way to our customer, at the end of the day, for me, I serve the customer. I want to make sure that my customer get the best service by providing the right AI analytics tool. In the IT industry, we now empower our customers to do much more predictive and faster modeling of the business. So they now can predict the trend, and they can predict, and look at all the lessons learned that we have, both for structured, which is the data that they have among themselves. There are also the unstructured data that's out there in the domain. So if we have a crawler that can collect both the unstructured and the data, data for the particular customer, can you imagine the amount of information that they get? Scenario planning, they want to do the corporate communication, they can then predict what the customer is saying about them, and so on and so forth, so that they can go with the right messages and go to the market. For the semiconductor, it's even more profound. We have customers that want us to produce wafer for them. A typical industry, for example, today, if we come and we onboard a customer, it takes about 12 to 16 months to qualify the product before we get the processed wafer out to their final end customer. Now, the challenge is we now found that by using AI, we can cut that time by about 30 to 40%. So customers that deal with us in Cetera, for example, can now go out to the market much faster. And to them, it's about opportunity, cost of, loss that they're trying to remove. So we empower, use AI to generate revenue to us and make our customers happy by providing them that predictive capability. One of the challenges that we have, Ellina, is about, we have the right partners to provide that. But as the customer, we realize, gets this knowledge and experience this AI advantage, they seem to be wanting more. And we now have problem in terms of how to cope with the quest because of this human capital issue that YB Govin was telling about. So I think it's for us in DNeX, it's a very exciting journey. We're now trying to accelerate the use of the data to drive our business and to generate more revenue to the company. And with the AI coming on board, and as you know, we just recently signed an agreement with Google to be the partner for the cloud sovereign AI. So that, the AI, the cloud that we provide could be sovereign and private in nature, but at the same time, we provide the AI capability at site rather than having to connect, to other data centers. So it provides certain comfort to our customer, and that will be operational somewhere, inshallah, in middle of next year. So I think, in a nutshell, I think data is very important, and we definitely need to use AI. But as we were talking about doing, before coming in, I think the question to me is how much more intelligent can this AI going to be? And I always say that when we buy technology, we need to be the master of technology, that then be the subservient to technology. So there's always a predicament that we need to be very careful as we go to this very challenging journey, unpredictable as far as AI is concerned. Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Tan Sri. Yes, certainly. I think in this day and age, data-driven decision making is very, very important. I'll go to Han now, chiming in. How does YTL Power use data and AI to drive operational efficiency? And what opportunities you see for renewable energy management?
Thank you, Ellina. Firstly, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Saturday. And hope that you guys will stay awake while we discuss this exciting topic. But jokes aside, I just want to say that I'm really inspired to be here with all of you. Makes me feel a bit old, even though we're not that different in age. But I'm just really inspired, and that's also why at YTL Power we decided to support the Perdana Fellows Alumni Association and the Youth Economic Forum this year. We're really excited to be able to be at the forefront of this and to inspire the youth to do more in this country. So back to your question. Actually, when I looked at the topic, data, electricity, and AI, this is at the intersection of what we are doing at YTL. Many of you would know us at YTL Power as a power company, as an electricity company. We were the first IPP in Malaysia in 1993. Our PPA has expired, and we've diversified our business mainly into infrastructure. But what we saw as the next wave was digital infrastructure. And maybe you at the audience would understand this. As the next generation, we understand how important it is to digitize our economy. And over COVID, when nothing else worked, it was really important that digital services worked. And so what we realized at YTL was that we wanted to provide not just infrastructure, but digital infrastructure. As a result of which, we had 3 initiatives. I think we decided to build data centers. We decided to go into digital banking, where we won a digital banking license with Shopee. And also to start YTL AI Labs, where we're building our own LLMs and AI products for our customers. Now, when we talk about data centers, the question is why. We saw, because we are a power producer in Singapore as well as in Malaysia, that the key limiting factor for AI was actually infrastructure. And Singapore had a moratorium on data centers. However, Malaysia had the opportunity to take the lead in AI by supplying this infrastructure. So 4 years ago, we decided to buy 2,000 acres of land in Johor, across the border from Singapore. And we built the world's largest solar-powered data center campus, 500 megawatts of power. Our partners at Sea have anchored that data center. We've got other hyperscalers. And as you know, this also captured the attention of NVIDIA. So when Jensen Huang visited Malaysia last year, we announced a partnership with them. We're investing 20 billion ringgit to build the world's biggest AI cluster in Malaysia. And with YB Gobin, when we went to the NVIDIA conference in April this year, we also announced that YTL AI Cloud was one of 5 service providers to NVIDIA's DGX platform, the others being not so famous names like Google, Microsoft, Oracle, not so famous names. And we were truly honored to be not just Malaysian, but also the only other international player outside of the US to be able to deploy this infrastructure. So the question is, now when we have this infrastructure in Malaysia, what do we do? And this is where, when you ask about data and how we are using this data, we're not just using it in our traditional businesses, such as power or renewable energy. What we are doing is we are actually building a vertical stack. We are building AI infrastructure from data centers. We're doing GPUs as a service. We'll have the world's, we'll be one of the first in the world to launch a new Blackwell GPUs in Q1 next year. It'll be in Johor. Malaysia has the opportunity to use this infrastructure to be at the forefront of the AI revolution. And we're also building AI products. For example, data will be used and crunched through all these GPUs through our YTL AI Labs division. And we are using that to actually build a better digital bank. So now, if you go banking, you have a lot of manual processes, and it's not as accurate in terms of credit scoring, in terms of giving debt or giving loans, making financial services available to the masses. We believe that using the power of AI and new tools will be able to do that. So, for example, why can't you have a personal assistant in your bank app? These are things that we are working on, and we'll be very excited to kind of showcase to you early next year. But I think in essence, when you talk about data being the new oil, that is true. We are using that, but I just wanted to stress the point of infrastructure, that when you have all of that together, truly together as a country, we can build something incredible.
Thank you very much, Han. We've listened to Tan Sri, who's given us perspective from a service provider to the clients, and now Han has given us a perspective from an organization that's actually creating that ecosystem. Now I'd like to hear from Shankar. From your perspective as a consulting firm, how do you see industries in Malaysia adapting to the data economy, and what are the most critical factors for business to stay competitive in this AI-driven landscape?
Thanks, Ellina. Good afternoon. Glad to be here in this afternoon. I think when we looked at the overall with the corporates and the industries that we've been interacting overall in Malaysia, clearly there is a clear recognition, data economy, the value that the data economy brings to their business, as well the impact that AI and Gen AI will have on the business as well. So I think that's very clear. And in a survey that we did with corporate Malaysia, almost 85% of the senior executives, senior leadership of the companies that we surveyed with clearly said that in the next 12 to 18 months, they see huge impact, the impact of Gen AI into their organization as well. And in fact, 75% of them are saying that means three-quarters of them are saying that the corporates are saying that we are trying something out. We have not rolled them out, but we would expect to roll them out in the next 12 to 18 months. So clearly, from an importance perspective, there are clear recognition from our corporate industry saying that, hey, this is definitely a game changer in the industry. We believe it will change the way we operate, we do business, and we are doing something about that. Some of the leaders have clearly rolled out. I mean, clearly, Hann mentioned some of it. It's going out there. But where we see the three main categories corporates are investing, one is in terms of enhancing the decision-making process. Traditionally, when prior to Gen AI and AI as well, I mean, you could build models, you could build scenarios, but there's only a limit that because bound by time, you could only produce X number of models and options and so on. But with Gen AI and AI, clearly the limit, I mean, it's just you're limited by the computing power as well. So the ability to get the data, to compute the data and gives you the multiple options for you to consider, I think that We see a lot of corporates using that to kind of enhance the decision-making process. Second is they're looking at optimizing their operations as well. How can I make things better? And this is one real example. If you're familiar with banking services, especially if you're small, medium enterprises, there's a process called know your customer. So before you accepted, your accounts is accepted, the bank would need to do a background check on yourself as well. So for individuals, it's pretty straightforward. We have IC, you go in, your thumbprint, you are who you are, all perfect, you get that created, right? But for small and medium enterprises, typically, I mean, they have company registration, but beyond that, typically they need to provide additional information as well. That whole process of validating, the account, especially when you are applying for lending products and so on, typically costs a bank anywhere between 12 to 15 US dollar per SME client as well. But with using AI, they brought the cost down to less than $1. So that clear impact to the bottom line. And this is just one small example where you're trying to optimize the processes and make better. The third element where we're seeing a lot of the AI being used is in terms of improving customer experience. I think Hann mentioned about, in future when you're opening bank, why not a personal assistant? Why does the personal assistant needs to be part of the domain of a private banker? For example, today, if you are familiar with premium banking, private banking, you have somebody that, you can wake up and say, how do I do this? How do I do this? So how do you bring that to the masses? And I think the power of AI will help to bring that. So that's the other dimension where we're seeing corporate deploying AI, deploying data in terms of helping the third element that I like to bring is that, but the most important part is you should not be doing AI for the sake of doing AI. You should have a clear vision. Why are you undergoing some of these transformation program? And when you look at that, it's either you're looking to grow your business or you're trying to protect an existing business by making it better, or you are trying to optimize something. So clearly doing something is good, but you also need to bring it back to why are you doing that and how does that bring benefit into your organization.
Thank you very much, Shankar. That ends our round one. Just to inform everyone, there will be a Q&A session after this. I just want to check with the organizer, how much time do I have? Because the timer is a bit, but timer to keep changing, so it confuses me. How much time do I have? What time do I have to stop? 3 o'clock. Yeah. Okay. All right. We go one more round. So we'll go one more round of questions, and then we'll take questions from the floor. All right. For Tan Sri, I think we'll go to your third question since we're just going to do 2 rounds. As someone with experience, extensively in both automotive and digital sectors, how do you envision AI and data transforming traditional businesses such as manufacturing or transportation? And what are the broader implications for economic growth in Malaysia and ASEAN?
Thank you, Ellina. I know somehow, even I've left Proton for about 12 years, people still think I'm still part of the automotive sector. I mean, you've seen, Ellina and everyone, how the automotive industry has evolved. And even as we speak, it still continues to go forward with all kind of crazy things, from traditional ICE engine to EV vehicle and now to autonomous driving. I think it's going to stretch even further. I mean, we see what Tesla is doing. I personally believe it's only the tip of the iceberg. It's going to revolutionize the way we use transportation today. And it's always a question about affordability. Electronics will get more and more heavier. And we can see in Cetera, the recipient of that demands in terms of the chips that goes into the EV business. And that is why we are repositioning our technology capability so that we're able to produce wafers or processes that allow EV, to thrive. Because that's going to be a permanent feature in all the automotive cars that's going forward. I think the question ourselves is how it's going to transform and impact our lives together. Generally, I like to believe it will make our life better. Yes, it might make our life more complicated, but the whole idea of the AI and EV is to empower us to get one point A to point B in most efficient and safe. And whether you are an autonomous vehicle, eventually it will go to be a safe product to go in. So that's one part to me, I think is very important. In the oil and gas business that we are in, it's even more acute today. The cost of, for example, drilling a well in the deep sea exploration costs about $3 to $4 million today. And we can see, that cost need to decline. So AI, by all this, data that we have on the past historical seismic data that we have from the, survey that we do, will then cut the cost by about 30 to 40%. So AI definitely will have an impact on the way we do our business, both in the energy sector. And today, when you talk about this carbon footprint that we do, we are always measured at the production well. So I think that data that we'd have then can give us a bit more predictive in how we can then make it more efficient in the way we operate our rigs to make sure that we pay less carbon tax and so on and so forth. So the impact is very clear in the business. But I suppose for me and for all of you out here is how does it impact your life in day to day? Whether you are at home, you are going into a new industry, you are going into a gig economy. I think I cannot even want to predict, Ellina, how we're going to go. I look at my children, and I go now look into the third generation, my grandchildren. I got a 7-year-old granddaughter and a 4-year-old grandson. I cannot imagine at my age at that time, we probably were being marbles, right? Now they're already doing device, and my 4-year-old grandson is doing things that I cannot even predict that he's doing. So nobody taught him to do this, but somehow when they start doing the gadget, this cognitive learning that they learn yourself is now teaching them to do and acquire skills beyond what we have. So the technology, I think, will evolve. And my fear, my question is how we then use that AI to our advantage. There's an issue about data integrity, data privacy. That also has to be addressed. There's issue today about ethics. About social responsibility. Today if I were to go to AI, and the other day I was talking in a video about asking AI what is the best religion, what is best this and that. So I think it's good to perhaps use the AI, but we need to also use this human element about empathy, about logic, about intelligence, so that what we use in AI can then be productive rather than be counterproductive. Like Gobi was saying, it could be an oil, or could be now become uranium. If you don't manage uranium properly, it could be a very high risk. So for the new generation coming forward with the involvement of AI today, I hope we, as Gobi said, we then empower the new generation, whether at early childhood, secondary, tertiary education. As they learn AI for themselves, they also now need to learn how to manage AI properly. I think that sometimes we as parents too didn't make that sense, and that that perhaps voice of reason to our children. We give them the gadget and say let them do, but we then have to dial and guide them and of course explain to them how are they going to use the technology properly. For the economy, generally I think it's good. You can see what the Malaysian government is already coming in, investors coming in, the ecosystem that they're going to create, the talent pool that you're going to create. And that will then create a new revenue stream, a new, what we call, work stream for the children. But the fear is, and I was a chairman of University of ITM for about 2 years, as we encourage people to do all this gig economy, and which is good, you get better opportunities to get income, then we realize, you see, over the last 2 years, nobody wants to be an engineer anymore. The courses that have been offered are now, there's no takers, Ellina. So back to the core industry like manufacturing, if there's no engineers, who's going to support the backbone of our economy going forward? So there's really a balance today in terms of how we encourage AI and not forget the real brick and mortar that we do. it still needed people to power the machines, you know. I mean, we cannot go and let the machine just be on its own, you know. So I think the government of the day, as we want to drive this economy, need to, you know, have a very clear footprint. As we encourage people to acquire AI capability, we must not forget the brick and mortar is equally important. So that the traditional workplace could still be there, but we just have to revolutionize and, you know, innovate and the way we do things, you know, in engineering and all that. But my fear is if we push our children too much to say that today is AI, and they will then shift everything to, you know, IT, digital, then no takers, and that's also not good for the economy in a very long term. So this balance is always, I think, it's always difficult for the government, you know, and where to invest. And I'm a little bit old school. I still, you know, believe, you know, brick and mortar is very important. But for my, you know, the new generation that I see, I think AI, IT, I think will be something that we have to equip them. But I just hope that they don't lose the sense of reason. Surely our economy will be much better. We'll be much more efficient, resilient, and quick to adapt to the growing ever changes. COVID, I think, is a bitter lesson to everyone. I mean, I was in Petronas at that point in time where everything shuts down. I mean, it's a lesson learned. But now we are much more well prepared, and we now, you know, tell ourselves, you know, Petronas at least, to use all the IT and digital so that, you know, sure when the government stops us from moving around, we can still function as an organization. So I think it will continue to grow in automotive. I think you only see the tip of an iceberg. I was involved with a company that I'm consulting now in terms of EV and what they have coming into the features and the entertainment and the, you know, it's the driver management system or alert awareness is just phenomenal. And I think it's good. It's good for your own safety. If I will have my children, I want them to be driving that kind of car because I can sleep home at night knowing that they will go and they start, if they're sleepy, someone will guide them to make sure that they stay on the road and they are safe. So I think it's an evolving thing, and, you know, I think just an exciting place to be now, you know, in this place. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Tan Sri. You also touched something about carbon footprint and sustainability. Perhaps a good way for Han to add on to that. How do you see AI contributing to a greener and more sustainable economy and industry?
Thanks. Okay. If you don't mind, I was quite inspired by kind of seeing so many young people here. And I actually wanted to talk about talent and what we're doing at YTL to enable and inspire a next generation of leaders, especially like the guys I see and the girls I see in this room. I think that AI has the potential to reshape the economy and provide new opportunities for people like all of you and all of us here today. So for example, when I talked about digital bank, we have actually built it with 100% Malaysian talent. We haven't outsourced any of this workforce or coding or anything overseas. We wanted to empower Malaysian talent to actually do that. And how they've done it is that they have actually coded the bank and supplemented it using AI. So the idea is that AI can 10x your engineers. And so I encourage you to, you know, think about how you can use AI to upskill your talents, and then actually, you know, how do you share into the economic delta that is created. So that is one of the things that we've done. So very proud of our new bank that will be 100% built by Malaysian youth. And in addition to that, we're also building LLMs, sovereign LLMs. We're working with the Ministry of Digital also to see how we can build LLMs that are tailor-made to Malaysia. And once these LLMs are also widely available to you, you guys can actually, you know, I want to encourage you guys to think out of the box, build startups, you know, use the technology that's there, create new opportunities for yourselves and contribute to the economic development of this country.
Thank you, Han. Yes, thank you for bringing up that topic. So I think that segues nicely to Shankar on talent. There's a lot of concern on AI about disrupting the workforce. I think when we did our report on the economic impact of generative AI, one of the biggest concern is like is AI going to replace my work? Yeah, you know, will I have any work later once AI takes over the world. So in your view, how can organizations leverage AI to enhance human potential rather than replace it, especially from your line of work?
Okay, thanks, Ellina. I think listening to Han as well as Tan Sri, the one part that I want to say is that I've heard this rumor mongering for a long time. You know, the technology is going to replace the human being. You know, work is going to go away. If you look 200 years ago, Industrial Revolution came. I mean, the workforce were predominantly manual labors, and the machine came, and then you had all the textile business, yarns being spun over. But the thing is that humans were not replaced. That particular job went away. But the role that the human being did, you moved up the value chain, right? So from being a factory floor worker that's spinning the yarn, or you're making yarn with your hand, you're now managing the machine that was making the yarn, you are maintaining the machines and so on. So 5-6 years ago, you would have heard when data analytics, RPA, those words came about. Again, you know, would my job go away and everything? Today, you're hearing Gen AI, you know, would I lose my job? And I think last week, Jensen Huang had a session, I think in India, I think for a sellout crowd workshop. And the one thing that he said, and which I share his view, is that, look, Gen AI is not going to replace a human being, because as a human being, your role encompasses more than what Gen AI can do today, right? You have emotion, you have experience, you have the nuances, you can read the people, you can read the situation to make that decision. But what Gen AI is going to be able to do is do certain things that today you do better than what you can do, and improve your efficiency. So for example, like earlier I gave an example, analyzing huge amount of data, identifying patterns, identifying trends and so on. That, I think Gen AI will eventually be able to replace that task that you're doing. But that doesn't mean that you don't need to do it anymore. What it means is that now you have much more concise analysis, multiple options, multiple models at your hand. But the decision is still yours, right? You can't go into, I mean, you're going to join a workforce, you're going to have discussions, you're going to have debate. Even in today, I mean, if you're studying, you're going to have papers, you're going to have assignments to do. You can't go back and say that, oh, Gen AI said the answer is A. No, you have to use your experience, your assessment, your understanding to kind of summarize whatever the options that Gen AI gave. So that's point number one, right? The second part where we see Gen AI helping, not replacing you, is making you more efficient and effective. And I give an example, right? Teams, I mean, all of us, due to COVID, all of us, I mean, Zoom, Teams and everything, we're so used to having, I mean, prior to that, before 2020, so the generation is before 2020 and post 2020, right? If you have asked for a meeting, let's do a call. Most of the time, I will get a request. No, I want a physical on-site. I have to fly somebody from US or whoever it is. But post 2020, there's a lot more acceptance of I can accept somebody on call, video, Zoom, and so on. But if you're familiar with Copilot, with Teams as well, I mean, the tool has increased the productivity. I personally use it. Before I go into a meeting, I'll say that, okay, Copilot, tell me what's my next meeting. Summarize to me what's the intent of that meeting. And can you please give me some research before I go into the meeting? So prior to that, I would have got somebody to do research for me, and also got my EA to come and tell me that, you know, this is your meeting, this is your objective, this is what whoever is attending. But right now, I'm getting Copilot to just do that, and I can do it 10 minutes before that. I get all summarized, go into the meeting prepared. While I'm doing the meeting as well, sometimes you get distracted, calls comes in, or another person taps on your shoulder, you turn for a while, you may miss an important statement, or so, and you get a question, say, Shankar, what's your answer? So I'm like, what was the question? So, and then, you know, Copilot tells me like, yeah, so and so asked you this question. So, you know, you don't get into that embarrassed situation as well. But that's showing that lapse of concentration. But there are scenarios where you can summarize. You can say that, look, we had 30 minutes of discussion now. Is this the common understanding of all the people in this call as well? So there's various ways where you can use AI as well as Gen AI to help you in terms of improving the productivity. So my view is that it's more of embrace the technology, learn, pick up, don't be shy to try out things and learn and make mistakes, because that's the only way you're going to learn about it. But what's more important is for you to embrace and use that effectively.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, we've got time for 2 questions, I think. We would have a hard stop at 3:10. 3:10, right? Microphone 1, can I request that only 1 question per person, and please go straight to your question. Microphone 1.
All right, Tess. Okay, so my name is Alisa. I'm a final year student of economics at University Putra Malaysia. So recently we heard that a company has laid off almost 700 of their staff because the job was taken by AI. And I know you have answered the question, but I wanted to know, as a business entity, how do you balance between the usage of AI, also giving job security for the staff?
Thank you. Question is, how do you balance the use of AI and also job security? Yeah, the use of AI in the organization and job security. Do you want to answer that, Tan Sri, or Han?
Okay, I'll try first. I think back to what I think Shankar was saying, AI really is not going to displace the workforce. I think that's a myth that people, tend to think, and because of that, they resist adopting AI. I think one of the things to balance, as what I think Han said, if you're already in the system, you need to upskill yourself to make sure when, AI, it's going to happen. The wave will happen and you cannot resist. So it's a bit of a choice. But if you don't upskill yourself, then the threat of job security might be real for you. But even then, to me, it's not about losing a job. It's basically deploying you to do other value-add services to add value to the AI. Because AI cannot exist on an own. On a raw thing, it cannot be used, to the consumer. It needs to have someone to interpret, to organize it properly, and that's perhaps the skill that you do. So it's always, people think, if I were to do digitize, I will lose my job. I don't even have, So, practically, in any organization, even the government, people refuse to adopt to change. So I think we need to change our mindset a little bit. There's really no balance. You don't have to worry, But as long as an employee, and we also encourage our employees to go upskilling all the time, particularly today more than ever. Multi-skilling is very important. If you just want to do, I just want to come and this is all I want to do, then I think you probably have yourself to be blamed. So we need to have an open mind on this, adopt and adapt very quickly. If you don't adapt, then I think in any industry, you'll be obsolete anyway. So do not let that happen to you. If you are a new graduate coming in, you don't have to worry about you're going to be demonized, diminish in your responsibility. But the more you are open to change, the more you become very agile and adapt, I think that's going to be to your advantage. So, that's my only thoughts about, if you are worried about job security.
Sorry, maybe just to add to Tan Sri's comment, right? I think if you look at markets like US, why does markets like US lead in terms of innovation? I think one is the ability to kind of destroy the businesses and move forward, right? The transition of people and losing jobs and so on. So I think never fear job loss, but use it as an opportunity to upskill yourself, learn new stuff so that you can go and try out new stuff.
Okay, thank you very much. Does that answer the question? Yeah. So don't be afraid of the technology. It's not going to replace your job. Okay, second question, please. Microphone 2.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Afif. I am currently under preparatory program to go to New Zealand under Petronas Scholarship. And my question is dedicated for Tan Sri Syed Zainal. So all of you guys basically talk about how important AI is and how you guys are implementing it in your own company and so on. But right now, besides utilizing the already available mega AI platforms such as ChatGPT and everything else, there are more and more AI software that are being developed in almost all of country, including our country, as explained by Mr. Han itself just previously. So my question is actually, in your perspective, is it actually in long term is more important for our country that people invest in themselves to create their own AI platform? Or is it more important for people to invest in themselves to learn how to maximize the utilization of currently available AI platform? Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yourself. either invest on a platform or do you invest on yourself?
Invest in both.
I agree.
No, I think it's a very unique question that you ask. I mean, it's not only a question that you ask yourself, but every CEO, every company asks, where do I invest? One thing for sure, never not invest in people. You constantly have to keep on upgrading the people. I mean, that's to me rule number one. In any organization or even you want to invest, how much that a company invest on training, for example. That's very important. So that investment, I think, will never stop. But at the same time, when you want to modernize your ecosystem, your processes, there is a limit what people can do. Or perhaps you want to do things faster because the whole world is changing. So you have a choice. If I invest in my people, yeah, they will probably take the time, but I need to shortcut and expedite because if I'm not, I'm going to be irrelevant very quickly. So that becomes a business decision that I have to make, and I have to invest in processes, whether AI, software, off-right development, whatever you call it. It's not a choice I have anymore. Because if I don't do this, then the whole company will collapse. So, but I think, I do not want a CEO to be thinking if I only have $1 where I'm in. I would like to say need to be a balance of both. The mistake is you over-relying on softwares and you keep on investing, and at the end of the day, you look back, who is the one who's managing the software? And I always ask, my people when they said, why can't we do this? And they said, oh, sorry, Tan Sri, because the system doesn't allow it to do this. So I said, then why buy the system in the first place to make your life difficult? That's not the whole idea of having a system, right? So if we invest in the system, you also invest in your people to learn how to manage and do the troubleshooting on the system. So investment must be both. I cannot see any company just investing in hardware or technology while not putting money on the human capital of the training. So, I mean, that's my philosophy. But to do one, I think is very detrimental. And if you just invest on people and don't embrace technology, you could be very obsolete very quickly, particularly in the digital space that we operate. And if you just invest on digital alone and hardware, forget about human capital, you probably realize today that you're not going to have the logic and the intelligence to operate this software or the AI for you to run your business and to make that decision making from a business point of view. So to answer your question, I would invest in both. Now, if you don't ask me whether 50% or 70%, sometimes you have to make a business call. But never forget, whenever you go in a company, your company that you work, if it's a good company, we always invest in human capital, like what Hann is saying. We believe that's the asset in any organization, whether it's country level at a company. And I prescribe to that 110%. So don't be afraid, you young guys, you go into the company, whether I'm going to work and people are going to care. But the problem is you cannot wait the things come on your silver platter. You must work for it, look for it, and earn to be skilled. I mean, that's the way learning process is all about. But if you're just going to wait, company is going to tell you the training, and that's not going to happen because there are many competitions quite stiff out there. So you need to then push yourself to be saying, look, I deserve to be trained. I deserve to get this upskilling. And that's your personality, your character, your work ethics will then drive you to make you different from the rest of the people and your colleagues. That's my advice to the question that you put in.
Okay, thank you very much, Tan Sri. Unfortunately, masa mencemburui kita. We don't have time for more questions. And I think we've covered quite an interesting topic this afternoon. Thank you very much, my panelists, Tan Sri, Hann, and Shankar. Thank you very much, audience.
Thank you so much, panelists and the moderator, for your thoughtful perspectives and contributions that have made this session both enlightening and inspiring. Now, if I could kindly ask the moderator and speakers to remain on stage to receive our token of appreciation and for a photo session. Let's invite Ellina to the stage. First, we have Mr. Shankar Kanabiran, Malaysia Deputy Consulting Leader and Partner, Ernst & Young, our Gold Partner. Mr. Yeoh Hann, Executive Director of YTL Power, our Premier Partner. Also, Sri Syed Zainal, Executive Chairman of DNeX Berhad, our Strategic Partner. Let's all come to the center of the stage for a group photo. We would also like to thank our moderator just now, Ms. Ellina Roslan, Senior Director of My Center for IR. We would also take this opportunity to extend our thanks to our other strategic partners, Hazanah Research Institute, Majlis Belia Malaysia, and Majlis Perundingan Pelajar Kebangsaan. Thank you again to our panelists for the session, and let's give them another big round of applause.